Hey there! Welcome to my channel, The Magical Solution. My name is Lailani, and this is How We Grow. I am beyond honored tonight because in our presence, we have a beautiful elder in our Taino community who is going to sit and talk with us about a conversation that I think really needs to be had over and over and over again until it's understood. And that question is, are the Taino still here? And we need to answer that in full. So tonight I've invited Akutu Irka Mateo, and she is a Taino medicine woman, which is bohutio. I think I said that right. I'll have her correct me in a moment. Ceremonialist, singer-songwriter, and teacher. She practices animism and ancestor reverence in the tradition of Caribbean and South American indigenous spirituality. Guided by her compassionate spiritual guides, Irka conducts healing ceremonies through spontaneous sacred chanting and the playing of Taino ancestral instruments. She creates music. She is beautiful. She is an elder. And, you know, this is one of those moments, I think, for me, and I don't wanna sound dramatic, but for me, this is a moment in history where we get an opportunity to sit with someone who may not be around forever, and their wisdom is something that you wanna cherish and something you wanna take with you, and so tonight, I'm honored to sit with her, and I hope all of you have questions, and I hope you guys feel as honored as I do tonight. So, without further ado, let's bring Urga. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I want to say thank you again for saying yes and coming on to my show tonight. It truly means a lot.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate that you are searching for knowledge about our culture and all the people who follows you. So for me, it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's you said it. I'm searching and there are a lot of individuals with Taino ancestry who are searching and trying to piece their together, who they are. And during that journey, they get confronted with a lot of negativity. And that negativity is rooted in this idea that the Tainos are extinct. They're not around anymore. Um, and I wanted to talk with you tonight, from beginning to end about that thought and about the pieces that are still here and how seekers can feel safe, finding themselves and reconstructing their culture. So, let's start from the beginning. Columbus, he comes to the New World. He meets the Taino people. What happens?
I'm going to start from the very beginning of asking permission to and a blessing to the ancestors.
Please.
What is going to happen now tonight? Ye-yo, ye-hiko. Ye-ye-ye-ye-yo. Oh, ye-ye. Ay-yo, ye-ye-yo. Hey-yo. Oye, oye, I
Yeah.
told my ancestors to come here and bless us with your love and the compassion. Please give us the permission to carry on with this conversation, and that everything that is said here today is of benefit of everyone who is attending, and that everything that they hear comes to their heart and their mind, and they can share it with their friends and family the way that they perceived it with their hearts and their minds. My dear ancestors, please put sweet words in my tongue, sweet thoughts, and sweet intentions, so that I can be a good guide for everyone who is here today. Arikomabu. Thank you.
Wow, that gave me chills. Thank you.
And hello, everyone, to who is there today. So we are going to continue by setting the context of what was going on when Columbus arrived, right? So these were the times in Spain when the Arab people have been dominating still the south of Spain. They stayed there for 300 years, and when Columbus and his people came, it was the time when the Spanish um, finally defeat them, and they had to go back to their land. And so years before that, they had already begun with the Inquisition, and they were persecuting the Islam, and they were persecuting also the Jewish people, and they were persecuting also everyone who was not Catholic. So, and before that, there was also, the persecution of the people who were, we can say, as you mentioned it before, animes, the people who were considered witches and everything. So they were very intolerant, right, to
Yeah.
the diversity of religions. And when this happened, they finally were able to rejoice in their Catholicism, and and there was like a fanatism to convert everyone to their religion. No, so one thing that I believe is that religions are regional, regional.
Right.
That they have their own people who are illuminated, like Jesus, like Krishna, like the Buddhas. So they come with a philosophy that belongs, because of the history of those places, that belong to these people. So I am of the thinking that you cannot impose a religion that is not from your region to another people, starting with that. Now,
Yes.
we are from the Caribbean, we came from the Amazon, and we are mixed with many people, as we are going to see, but we have our own spirituality, and we needed to respect that, you know, the way that we think, and the way that we think that our creation stories and our ancestors. So when Christopher Columbus came, it was this time in Spain that they were, as I said, in this fanatism, that they were already free, and that they were Catholic, and they wanted to convert everyone to Catholicism. So when they came there, They were looking, for commodities like the gold, but they were also coming to convert us to another to a religion. No,
Mm,
and these two things, like stealing your land and your resources, and not considering you a full human being, and on top of that, wanting to change the way that you related to divinity, it was it was really very hard for our ancestors. We can relate to them. No, it's like, today somebody coming to your own house and opening it, and I say, well, from now on, everything that is in this house is mine. You're going to serve me. I'm not going to pay you, and you're not going to think, and you're the way you think, and you're not going to speak the language that you speak. No,
right.
this is what happened
And
when.
it's, and we have documents though that, the Taino people upon arrival were such good and welcoming people who, gave food and gave items and welcomed the conquistadors. How did it go from that to they're all gone, you know?
They, yeah, so they are not all gone. We are still here, and this was a political economical strategy that the conquistadors used for the king and the queen, allowing them to start the African slave trade. So this was really what was happening when they said that we were extinct.
Mm,
So it is a lie that has
been
been
perpetuated,
for centuries. We It is true that our population declined greatly, but a portion of us stayed alive, fleeing to the mountains. There is also, that there is also people who went back to the Amazon. There were people who were really seeking where to hide, and also we are mixed. We are mixed with the own very own conquistadors, and we are also mixed with our brothers and sisters from Africa.
right?
So through them, we survived. Today, there is not a 100% pure, because we are not pure, because nobody's pure. But there is not, no, like a village where you can go. There is still not, because we are now reconstructing our culture, right? So
Right.
we are in our way to do that. But right now, from the ancestors, there are no ancestors that are like in villages speaking the classic Taino, and following totally the style of life, right? The way of life. What we have now is like a syncretism. It is a fusion. It is an encounter of these three cultures in the countryside, in the cities, but in the countryside, it has remained most of the things that come from our Taino ancestors. Now that we are talking about the Taino, because I consider us Taino, Afro Taino, and also Europeans. We cannot deny it, because it is there. One people
Exactly.
less than others. We wouldn't want this reality, but it is a reality. And but we are celebrating the minority. So the minority in if from of the narrative that is out there, because
Right.
we are like mulattoes. They say we are mulattoes here. But anyways, what I think is that we we are here. And many things that our ancestors did are still here too. And in our genetics, we are also here. So it's something that is biological, and it's something that is also cultural. In this country, this country is not very urbanized. So we have many rural areas that Now we are getting a little bit more electricity, but we have rural areas that are very hidden and where we live like more traditional styles of life, and where many of these teachings have stayed and have passed generation to generation. We
Right.
can find the material culture, like the bohutios, the way that we build our houses, the roofs, the utensils that we use in the kitchen. I'm talking about the countryside. Instruments, like the maraca. We can find a lot of stories, legends, and we can find overall our spirituality that is still there. um,
Yes.
there is like a current that is more Taino oriented, but there is another one. There are two other ones that are is syncretic, like the 21 Divisiones, which is the Dominican Voodoo, and the Liborism. So in these spiritual systems, we can find this cult, this adoration, this welcoming of our ancestors.
So
And
it seems like the reconnection, because coming from someone who's a seeker and witnessing others who are seeking to reconnect, it seems the culture of our spirituality is probably the best route to go, because every time we approach it from the perspective of genetics, or we approach it from the perspective of politics, or we approach it from the perspective of whatever, there's always a counter argument. There's always, for example, the indigenous part of our blood, the Taino part of our blood, is actually not unique. It comes from North and South America, it comes from Mexico. Or or the colorism issue that we come across. You're too white to be Taino and you're too dark to be Latinx. This idea that we're not enough, but there seems to be all of that seems to go by the wayside when it comes to the spiritual parts of the Taino culture. It's like we all become the same at that point because we're reconnecting to the spirits of the land and of our ancestors. You brought up previously, when we were talking about Columbus, you brought up, a political sort of lie that was being told throughout history, that in order to get more help, in order to bring the Africans into this process, we needed to say that there's no more Indians, there's no more Tainos. Do you think there's still political agendas happening now with regards to the genetics, with regards to the colorism, with regards to us having so much infighting and issues within our own communities between our Black Latinx, our white Latinx, and our really indigenous looking at Latinx people?
yeah, yes, I'm talking from the Dominican Republic, where I am familiar with what is going on here, what has been the processes. And this myth of the extinction started there, and like in the last 200 years, when we started having historians and recording our history, etc., they continue to perpetuate this the myth. They didn't go further to to use like a critical thinking, like, is this really true, what they were saying? Let me go and do some research. This was not done, and it hasn't been done. Now now probably I'm seeing a little sparks of things changing in academia, but they have been perpetuating the myth. They are extinct and nobody talks about it. And in our history books for the children, the Spanish people are the heroes, and we don't talk about the Tainos, and we say that we are not here. So we have a very, very long, road to walk. But I think that things are going well. So there is another thing. The Dominican Republic is very racist and is very classist society, and this is a legacy from the colonizers. The people, the mulatto, the mix of black and white, and the black, and or the Tainos, with the people with more Taino ancestries, are second class members of the society here. This is a society that is very Hispanophile, that looks at Spain as their mother patria, su patria madre, and that doesn't want to recognize that the Taino people are still here, that we have lots of the culture, that we have lots of the spirituality, that there are so many words embedded in our Spanish, and also in our genetics. There are some people here in some places like Aswa that people have 40% of Taino genetics,
Wow.
and this is because the mountains are right there. The mountains were our ancestors were hidden, so from this society that is so classist, they this was in a time was even wanted to be like a flag for some political parties, like we are more black and you are more Indian, or we are Spanish and we don't like black people, and we don't like, well, it's like that, or mixed people.
Right.
So the Afro, I was part of the first Afro Dominican movement, and the first Taino indigenous movement too, that started here like 35 years ago. I was a 20, I was in my 20s, and I was part of this, and we were doing research. All the people, the black and the people who were considered them Tainos, we were all of us doing research at the same time and searching, and we consider us like brothers and sisters. So we, the people who started this movement and who has spent decades in the countryside, we are going together to research about our ancestors, and to know where we are fused, where we can see the black and the Indian together. But this is like sports. When the people who go to Olympics, the people who are in sports team, they are very diverse,
Mm.
talking about the ethnic procedences, and they are brothers and sisters. The people who are in the music, you see that they can come from all over. So the same happens with the researchers. We don't see color, we don't see religion, we don't see anything. We are just human beings being together. But
Yeah.
outside of these teams, where the diversity is so accepted and embraced and loved, so out of this there is a lot of hate, and there have been moments here in the Dominican Republic where the people who are doing indigenous have been put against the black movement people, and they
Right.
think the movement people think that we are searching in indigenous, that we are claiming our indigenous roots because we are opposed to them, to their movement,
Right.
to black, and this is not true,
No.
because we recognize ourselves as Afro Tainos. Tainos, when we say Tainos, is the whole mix. When we say Afro, is the whole mix, because everybody's mixed here. You see, so I wanted to bring that to the attention, that the people who works on this, we are diverse, and we are brothers and sisters, and we have been working together for almost 40 years.
For so long, yeah.
You
The
know,
infighting is just it's not necessary. The infighting is not necessary. But I
no,
think people try and seek out, uh, "Oh, I'm a little bit more indigenous than this person," or "I'm a little bit more of," there's a seeking of wanting to feel special and connected to our indigenous roots. And so you're
yeah,
right, there's a lot of like, well, you're denying your African roots, or you're denying the fact that you're very light skinned and you have privilege, and you're denying certain things because, so you're right, it does get looked at that way. But the reality is that all we're trying to say is we're still here. We're still here, and we're mixed, And
Yeah.
that mix is the reason why we're still here. So thank you for that.
Yes, because many of our culture too has been kept alive by by our the African people, because we were
Yeah,
together, we were slaves together in the mines, in the cane sugar plantation, in the gold mines. We were
mhm.
servants of the Spanish people, all of us. We intermarried, and intermarrying we passed our cultures.
We pass the cultures. And
We passed.
speaking of that, like you had said, the spirituality as well. You know, again, the thing that kind of roots us back to um, our land and to our ancestry. One of the things that people don't seem to realize is that some of the parts of Africa where the slaves were taken were very similar to the lands of the Caribbeans. The rivers, the jungles, like a very similar layout. And so the spirits made sense that a lot of them commingled, a lot of them, repeated, a lot of them seemed to have matching elements about them. So it
Yes,
made sense.
yeah, and they were also animists. They believed that with animists, that, for the lack of a better word, I always say, um, we are people that believe that everything that is in this world is alive, that we are part of nature, that the human being is part of nature, and that we live here with the human animals, with the sorry, with the animal people, with the tree people, with the rock people, and that the four elements and the four directions are our grandparents because they were here before us. So this is what we think. So if we think like that, then we take care of them. We don't use our earth like a commodity just to take out the gold and to dismember our mother. This is why the indigenous people all over the world, I'm not just saying the Taino people, I'm saying in all the
All
continents,
over.
are the protectors of Mother Earth, because we have a different look. We don't have the Eurocentric look of the earth as a commodity for profit. You
Mhm.
see? So this is something that the people who came from Africa were thought alike with us, who are here, and that came from the Amazon, and we have all this belief system. No, so we found ourselves matching at a spiritual level, and also being in the same position, both as slaves and serving to these conquistadors who were here and didn't treat us like full human beings. So when we were living there in these harsh conditions, we started anyways to mix, and when we escaped that, we became maroons. So they are free. We continue to mix our songs and our instruments and the way we thought,
And the
and
dancing and the food and the
the, and the agriculture, because who started the Maroon movement was the indigenous, the Taino, because we have been living here for thousands of years, and we knew the island. The African people, the Spanish people, they didn't know the island. They just had gotten here. So the Taino people led the Maroon movement, and we went to several high mountains, like for example the first one, Guarocuya, which is known as Enriquillo, who led all the people to La Sierra del Bauruco here in the west of the Dominican Republic. And they stayed there 17 years, and the conquistador couldn't bring them down, So there we were the indigenous people, and also we had the African people, but in other maroon locations too. So we showed them what we had, our medicinal plants. They had brought medicinal plants and other plants from Africa, like for example the plátano that we
I
talked so.
just learned that. Yeah, I just learned that recently that the plátano was brought from Africa. I was like, wait a second. That is a
Yes,
staple food. Like, really?
yeah, it was brought from Africa. And what we had a staple food is the yuca that we also still have here. No,
Yes.
so we've showed them what we had here, how to plant them, and they showed us what they had brought and how they plant, and everything became a melting pot of
Yes.
indigenous and African culture, and this is what we are. And in the spiritual ceremonies we can find this, like for example the smoking of the tobacco. The tobacco is is indigenous. It was
Yes.
brought, and so we use it for cleanings and for protection, and in our ceremonies. So when
We
we
are
are,
we're
yeah,
the
when we,
original melting pot.
yeah, yeah, we are the original melting pot.
Yeah.
Everything, the whole experiment of colonization started there, and also the first time where a continent, what the face of a continent was changed,
Yes.
because they all started coming. The Europeans and the Africans started coming, and they came to the Caribbean. They came to Hispaniola, and from here, all the conquistadors went to Peru, to Mexico, and they conquest the whole, the whole South American. Well, starting in Florida and the south of the United States.
Right.
No, so we are the original melting pot where everything started, and from all these terrible trips also took, departed from.
But
So
like out of all of this horror came such a beautiful fusion of culture that I'm so proud to be a part of. And, that culture, you still have remnants of the Taino sprinkled in, like the oral stories and the quote unquote family stories that get passed down. Like in my family, my father is so proud to say, my Taino ancestors, they survived because, when Columbus came, my family ran up into the mountains and they did this, and like he can tell the stories of what they had done to escape and how they survived and where they intermingled with other groups. My mother's side, she has stories about um, you know, uh, an indigenous, a Taino female who would drown the conquistadors because she realized they couldn't swim. So she would lure them in with her good looks and then drown them in the water one by one. And she got about like six of them before they caught her and all this stuff. So, there's these stories that each of our families have little bits and pieces of. There's recipes, little bits and pieces of. Can you share some of those stories? Can you tell us just those little remnants that have been left behind for us to hold on to?
yeah, there is more than reminiscences. They are like whole spiritual systems and beliefs, and
Yes.
yes, a Taino way of being in the countryside. Well, I have many stories. My family comes from, a part of my family, half of my family comes from the south, from a place called San Juan de la Maguana, um, and this is called also the Taino capital of the Dominican Republic. So they come from there, and they told me lots of stories. My grandmother and my maternal grandmother and my paternal grandfather's family come from there too. So this is a very mystical place because it was, the name is San Juan de la Maguana. Maguana was a Taino Cacicasco, and that was ruled by Caunabo. And when Anacaona married her, who was the cacique of Jaragua, then she was there also ruling. And
Wow.
yeah, they are ancestors that are still honored. They are elevated to a deity position right now there in San
Wow.
Juan and all over, because this is also part of the 21 Divisiones, which is the Dominican voodoo. And in that town, there is a little community called Maguana, where people thinks that Anacaona is still living there in the form of a crab.
Okay.
Yeah, so you see how everything is very mixed.
Yes.
And so the place where she's living, it is a place called La Agüita de Liborio, Liborio Mateo. He was a spiritual leader and a revolutionary. I'm not going to get into details because this is one of the spiritual currents in the Dominican Republic, and he is the most venerated um, curandero spiritual leader that ever existed in our country. And he was killed by the Marines. He was killed because he was such a threat for the government. He had so many followers that they mistaken him by having um, political interests when he was a spiritual leader, and that the Marines they invaded here twice. One was in the 1916, and another one was in 1965. That I was a kid and I went through that war. The bombs and everything falling down in the city. And yeah, but we are going to another terrain. But the first invasion, they came here for some reasons, but they also helped the Dominican government. They wanted to kill Liborio because he was too powerful, and they did. So today, Liborio is an Afro-Indigenous, an Afro-Taino saint. So there is a place where he used to heal that is called La Agüita, the little water of Liborio. And we say that when you go there, as he was a healer, you go there to heal. And there is this is a peregrination center, the biggest peregrination center in the Dominican Republic that is there. And so when you get to the place, there is a little cave because it's like the source of a river. This is where a river starts, and so there is a little cave where you can go to see if you can see her, to see Anacaona there in as a crab. So when you see her, sometimes you see her, and that means that you're going to be healed like faster because she's there also with Liborio, but also Kaunabo, her husband is there. So people goes and they do ceremonies there. So my grandmother told me this story that one day there was this man who went to La Guita de Liborio, and he went to the little cave, and he grabbed Anacaona and put it on a jar, and he went home with
Oh,
it. He stole her. And so when he was there in his house, he opened the jar, and Anacaona talked to him, and he said, "You better put me again in my cave, or you know what is going to happen to you." So he was scared that he went and he brought Anacaona back to the cave. So we have like folk stories like this,
yeah.
and many others. People, our people think that the Taino people are still alive, and they have a village under the water. This is why our Taino spirituality is called agua dulce, sweet water, because we believe that our ancestors they live um, they live under the water, right? So you can go in the countryside, and you find the people. I say, oh my God, these Indians had a party last night down in that pond. They didn't stop playing those drums. It was impossible for us to sleep. You know, there is still things like that.
I
The
love it.
people, they go to the river and they see indigenous people coming out of there and calling them. I was in a place that was very hidden, very much high in the mountains. It was like 3,500 meters. I don't know in feet, but it took me 9 hours to get there in a donkey.
Oh my
So
gosh.
so you can imagine how high is that. You cannot even breathe properly. And so in that place, I met a man who told me that once he was swimming in the river, but he fell from, he was like I don't know, jumping from a rock, and then he jumped from a rock, and he went too low, and it was very deep, and he was drowning. An Indian, as they say, an Indian girl took him and brought him out to
Wow.
the rock, and he saw, well, he felt everything, and he was there, and then she just disappeared. So this man, when I met him, it was like 20 years ago, more or less. He was already like in his 50s, and every year in the day that he was drowning, he does a ceremony for this little girl, Taino
Wow.
girl who saved her, and he brings our palos, which are the drums that we play mostly in the ceremonies, three long drums. And he brings lots of candies because she was a girl, and he brings the children from the village. So they do a procession with all the children and the candies, and they sing for her, and they give the candies to the kids, and they also offer the candy to the little
So like,
inn.
oh.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the stories are about waters, and we have stories about caves, and we have stories about mountains, and we have stories about hurricanes. Like I
Mm.
remember in Puerto Rico, actually this was back in the early 90s. We were driving by this beach. I can't remember which part of Puerto Rico it was, but we were driving by this beach and everything was closed down. And I asked my uncle, I said, Tío Sado, why is that beach all shut down? Like, it's a beautiful beach. It's perfect. Why is it shut down? He goes, oh, he goes, the ocean people, they keep attacking the tourists. He goes, they don't attack the, us, but the tourists, they nip at their feet. And so the government came and they shut down the beach and they're trying to fish out the people. And I'm like, "What?" And I'm thinking like sea monkeys or something, and he's like, "No, no, our people, the mermaid people, our people, they attack the tour they attack like, they bite the feet of the tourists." I was like, "Get out of here." So again, it's like this whole
Yes, yeah, because we believe in our ancestors. We believe that the people who passes to other realms, they are there, and they are there to help us.
yeah,
No, so this is our spirituality is based on the communication with our ancestors, and our deities are our ancestors. So but there are some of the ancestors who are not healthy, who have to do some work, and these are the ones who are like the ghosts. And this happens all over the world. I mean, that
yeah,
happens. This is what happens, that when people passes and they haven't finished everything clean here, then they are like ghosts who are toxic. They are other ones who are not ghosts but are not in a good place, and they are the other ones who are the guides and the protectors. Yeah, mabullas, sansisa, sansista, eso mismo es. Entonces, so we believe in that. We believe that the spirits are around us, and
yes,
yes, and it is part of our spirituality. It's like the ancestors are here with us now,
yeah,
right?
they're living and breathing, and the land is living and breathing, and that's I mean, one of the beautiful things about the Taino culture, what I notice is that the land isn't like a separate it isn't a separate thing that you worship. The land is also the ancestors. There are, you know what I
Yes.
mean? And I love that. So speaking of that, I have a question here from Steven. He asks, what do you suggest is the most respectful way for younger Tainos to reconnect with their identity? So, since we're speaking about spirituality, would that be a way in which to do that?
Yes, yes. I think that the best way to follow the Taino ways is starting from the beginning, and it is connecting with your ancestors, is honoring everything that they did so that we are here today.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
and also connecting with this spirituality of animism is knowing that we are here, and we are here because Mother Earth brought us. We have all the right to be here, and we are not the center of this world. We are just part of it. We are part of nature, and as I say at the beginning, we need to respect and love our our relatives who are the animal people and the tree people and the rock people. And
Yeah.
also to know that because Mother Earth was here before us and she gave birth, actually in the Taino culture, in Diva Kaubama, which is Mother Earth, she died because she gave birth to the four elements and the four directions. So they are also our relatives because she gave birth to us too, and she keeps us alive with the food and the air. And who gives the air? The trees. The trees give us the oxygen, and grandfather wind brings it, and we can breathe it. No, so
Yes.
everybody's working out there, and we are not recognizing it. I saw a book the other day somewhere of somebody who is in the aeolic business, and the book is Dominating the Wind. I say, what an Eurocentric title. No, it's like it would be like working with with Father Wind, for from our
Seriously.
point of view. So it is like to decolonize this way of thinking that Mother Earth is is a commodity. And
I
always,
love the way that you said that, like decolonizing the mind, because I think one of the most amazing things that I'm noticing about the younger generation of Taino individuals who are trying to reconnect to their roots is we're seeing a lot of activism happening. We're
yes,
seeing, people like Juliet Diaz, people like who are out here fighting for, our water to be clean, fighting for the rainforests to stop being, cut down, fighting for Puerto Rico and Cuba and Santo Domingo, where all of these, rich white men are coming in and buying up all of our lands and putting all of our people into to homelessness because we can't afford to stay on our own islands. You know, fighting for that because fighting for Mother Earth and living in 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 nature's balance is also a political thing. It's an activism thing. You could say, sure, I'll start a garden at home and I'll, you know, you know, pray to the ancestors and do. But there's also that piece of like, hey, go out there and sign a petition, or hey, drop a video about what's going on to some of your friends so that they know what's happening in these parts of the world. It's
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
bigger movement than that.
yeah. Oh yes, yes. Yeah, it is important to be involved in the changes. It is very important because I believe in that, in creating movements. When we put out there what we need, and we have people who resonates with it, so we grow and we can create change. So it is very important that the younger generations do that too, that get involved with the change, because we are here, and we are here with a different way of thinking. We are here knowing that we are their children. No, we are here knowing that, and we are here to live the life that, in abundance, the way that she is and the way that she wants us to live it. So we need to really stand up for our rights, as human people who wants to live a clean planet for 7 generations too, because
Yes,
you are not going to have your children and not do anything that they can live a decent life with clean water
right.
and with a soil that is not ill of all the dump and all the things that we put out there. So we need to create movement. We did it when I was a young woman in my 20s. We did it. We did so many things, and this is why we are we are here, still here, and still doing it, because we started doing it so many years ago,
Yes,
and it has been successful. Change goes very slow.
very slow.
We think that we are when we're young, we think that we are going to change things like right away, but then we realize that we work all together and we put our grain of sand. Everybody pone su granito de sal there, no, and with time it continues to grow, and it can grow into a dune, a big thing, and then the change just explodes.
Exactly. And
So
you paved the way.
yeah, but I had to wait for a whole generation to see how the movement has grown. We were three cats, you know. We were like five. We were five,
But you
and
did it. You
nine.
paved the way.
Yeah,
You
in
set
nine.
the stage for us, and we're gonna hold that up. We're gonna keep going.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
and you are there. You are up in the front, and we are here. Just with our wisdom, because there is an indigenous proverb that says, follow the young, listen to the elders. So it
Yes.
I have we have even put our life in peril for the movement. We have done so many crazy things. I had to flee my country and become a political refugee when I sang a song to this president that we had here, that was like a dictator, say, what are you doing? What are you doing for the black people? What are you doing for the indigenous people? What are you doing with all this poverty? And they throw me the guard on the stage, and I had to leave the country.
Oh my
And I
god.
had to stay out there as a political refugee because I couldn't come back again.
Yeah.
So we have done like a lot of things for this. We have been so brave to the point that we were stupid.
Yeah. And those sacrifices were made, and they need to continue to be made. And like you said, it's about planting the seeds for a tree that we will never experience its shade. But 7 generations down, they will experience the shade of the tree that you planted. And that's what it's all about. And we got to do it together. And you're right, like the young is where it's at. They have the energy, they have the
Yeah,
fuerza, they have it all, and you have been through it, and now it's your time to give us wisdom, to give us the spiritual energy that we need to keep fighting forward. That's Everyone
yeah,
has a role to play, and
yeah.
everyone's role is important.
Yes, exactly. And also we are here, but we are still active. We are still active in the change. We are part of the change, and we will be until we die, part of
Yes.
the change. No, because it is important. It is important to be congruente with your mission in life. When your mission in life is true, that it is something that you believe in it, you are, I don't know how to say congruente in English, for the rest of your life. And we build generation by generation. We build over other generations. So this is how change happens too. Is
Yes.
building from one generation to the other. One day you're going to be like me. You're going to be over 60, and you are going to see the young people who followed you and created new things that are more advanced, because they jumped from your rock.
Yeah.
You understand? So and you're going to see that change. For me, it's wonderful. It is. I was talking about this with somebody. It is so beautiful to grow old, to have the opportunity to grow older, and see how generation change things, and see the evolution of life itself on earth in the time that you are alive. It is amazing. It is like it is like a feeling of wow, now I see things from another perspective. I see how young people think, how things evolve, how things change, and what your generation did is the bedrock of what this generation is doing. And look at the amazing things that they are doing.
Yeah.
No, we are so happy to see that there is this movement of Afro Latins and Afro Tainos and Tainos and everything in between that is reclaiming our identity, the real identity of the Caribbean.
And we are still here,
Yes,
and
and
we
we're
will
still,
always be here.
yes.
Okay. Irka, if you could say one last thing to the seeker, to our people, what would you say?
I will say, um, keep up together, keep up together, and don't listen to the forces that want to divide you. That because of all the political, economical interests that are out there, be true to yourself and to your tribe. I don't mean tribes like the tribes, the different tribes of Taino people that we have here. I say tribe as the people who think and who feel like you, who have the same, who has the same values as you regarding what is the identity of the Caribbean. Keep together. This is a time where we are really putting down all this patriarchy and all this Eurocentric way of things, saying things. We are changing the paradigm of competition, and we are entering in collaboration times. This is where we need to be, collaborating each other. Every one of us is different. Every one of us has a light. Nobody will bring to the world what the divinity gave you for coming to this world. So there is no need to have competition. Everyone is different. Everyone brings its medicine. So learn this and get together and work together, because we need to be many to change things. And when we are in peace and collaborating, we will. I want to sing a song to our Universal Mother Asabera. You can sing it to everybody there. Yeah, yo, okay, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Ataveira, mi madre, hey, guacarapito, hey. Tuima kuataveira hikei, hikei, hikei. Escucha mi canto, hikei. Diosa de la luna, hikei. Diosa de las aguas, Hikei, Hikei, Hikei. Ataveira, mi madre, Hikei. Huacarapito, Hikei. Suima, Guataveira, Hikei, Hikei, Hikei. Escucha mi rezo, Hikei. Madre de la gente, jijei, madre de mi vientre, jijei, jijei, jijei. Hasta ver a mi madre, jijei, Guacarapito, jijei, Suima, Tuatabeira, jijei, jijei, jijei. Thanks to the ancestors for having been here today and blessing us and bringing all your love and your compassion for this conversation to be a reality. Thank you for all the words that you've put in my tongue, all the sweet words as the yuca that you put in my tongue. And thank you for everybody who came here today, for your trust, for Lailani for the invitation and your trust, and for having been here listening to our stories and what we need to do together. Arikomabo. Hey, 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 hey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lailani, for the invitation, and thank you to everyone who was here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And if you want to follow Irka Mateo, you can find her on Facebook and the links in the description. My name's Lailani, and this is how we grow. Have a good night, everybody.